Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
Did we expect anything different? Did we? I mean, the Sixers had what they had out on the floor, and clearly, from the jump, it wasn't going to be enough to take down Anthony Davis and LeBron James. It just wasn't even close to enough talent. Now, they hung in there, and even when the Lakers went out on these big runs and they took a monster lead, the Sixers still found ways late in the game to make it 9 points, to get it to single digits. But ultimately, they did not have enough talent to get over the edge. Even though Tobias Harris had a couple possessions where it got ugly, it was inevitable that it would be a loss, and now this is 9 straight road losses for the Sixers. They are 9-23 away from the Wells Fargo Center, which makes my eyes bleed every time I see that statistic, but that is where they are at. Now, when you look at these 2 games in Los Angeles, when it comes to effort, I mean, you really can't be disappointed with their effort in both games. They left it out on the floor. You just run into teams that are better than you on that given night, due to not having your starting rotation, due to losing Embiid, Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson. And in this game, like, one of the big reasons why it fell apart, not that it wouldn't have without this happening. I thought eventually the adrenaline would run out for the Sixers and you would see the Lakers get into their groove, turn it on defensively, score offensively. At some point, that was going to happen anyway. But the major spot where you really saw the momentum switch was in that second quarter when the Sixers were actually up. Tobias Harris had a bogus foul called on him, his third, which had the pretty much put him on the bench. So you're without Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Josh Richardson, and Tobias Harris against the Lakers on the road. What would you expect to happen? Well, pretty much exactly what happened. You saw Anthony Davis take over the game in that spot. He went on a tear there right before the half. And I'll tell you what, Al Horford, he just stinks. It's just that simple. He stinks. I've been on Brett a lot about the way that Al Horford's being utilized, and that was more when he was the 4, but I mean, he just stinks. There's no excuse for Al Horford right now other than he looks slow, he looks awful, and that is on him. He's playing the 5 position. That's what he played in Boston. He looks so overmatched. And let's be real, Anthony Davis is playing great basketball this season. He finished with 37 and 13, and he has been abusing a ton of defenders in this league this year. So he does that. He has the skill set to make people look silly. He was really effective in this game from all over the court, whether it was dribble driving, whether it was knocking down threes, whether it was the post game. He was doing it all. But when you look at Al Horford and what he has brought to the table as a whole, not just this game, but as a whole, dissecting every single game that he has played this season so far with the Sixers, it's abysmal. It's absolutely abysmal. And it's to the point where Mike Scott, who played the 5 after Norvel Pell, by the way, missed that brutal layup and had to leave the game after 2 minutes, right? After that whole debacle, you see Mike Scott going back to the 5 at points, and he looks better than Al Horford does. Mike Scott at the 5 looks better than Al Horford does. Unbelievable statement that just came out of my mouth. Now, do not forget, I am giving away free Sixers tickets. All you need to do to qualify is go to my Twitter page at Broads81. You need to, 1, follow me, and 2, retweet my pinned tweet at the top of my page, which explains the giveaway. That's all you need to do. The game is March 11th against the Detroit Pistons at home, 7:30. And all you need to do is retweet it. It's simple. Follow me and retweet it. I will be choosing the winner on March 3rd. Also, do you want free money when buying tickets? If you use the promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout page, you will receive $20 off of your total purchase, which is a no-brainer, so make sure you use the promo code BROADS today. All right, so at some points, this game was crazy. I saw Raul Neto crossing up people, taking it hard to the rack. I saw LeBron James knocking down threes from the Lakers logo, which was absurd. And I tweeted this out during the game. LeBron James is so underappreciated. Isn't that crazy? It's so crazy to think about, but he is. For some reason, people despise this man, and he will get more love and he will be appreciated more once his career is over, which I would say happens to a lot of athletes. Definitely, people appreciate them once they are finished with the game. But what LeBron James does every single night, it's miraculous. And because MJ was first, and because there's so many people tied to MJ and to specific people who grew up in that era, MJ was it. They are unwilling to allow another man to be at the same level and have a spot next to Michael Jordan. I mean, those two were at the same level to me. I'm not knocking Michael Jordan. I'm just saying that there is another person who is at the same level of MJ. MJ was the highest of the high. You need to give LeBron James the same type of praise because what he's doing is at that level. It's unbelievable to watch every single night what this Lakers team does because of LeBron James. Because of LeBron James. And I'll even say, as much as I just praised Anthony Davis and what he brings to the table, he is having more success based off of just the fact that LeBron James is out there. Because LeBron is on his team, it opens up what Anthony Davis is able to do way more. That's not a knock on AD. That's praising LeBron and what he does. Crazy. But anyway, going back to Al Horford, I don't get it. He absolutely fell off a cliff, and I kept trying to convince myself there had to be something wrong. There had to be something wrong. Now, you saw him get checked out. His leg was getting checked out on the bench, something complete in a way of saying, I hope there's something wrong because it at least makes sense. I don't want anyone injured, but I'm saying, if there is something wrong, at least it makes sense. I don't want anything wrong. Let me clarify. I do not want injury on any athlete ever. But my point is, he's playing so horribly that at least it would make sense if there was some sort of injury, but there really isn't, and that's a problem. That is a major concern. There is no spacing issues right now. There's no being next to Joel Embiid. This is flat out just horrendous basketball play out of the big man, and it is truly concerning. Once again, that's not just based off of this matchup. This is based off of all season long. A big topic of discussion entering the night was what? Shake Milton. And I even put up a Twitter poll before the game started, and I asked, how many points is Shake Milton going to drop in this basketball game? In 231 votes, less than 10 points got 12% of the votes. 10 to 20 points got 43% of the votes. 21 to 30 points had 32%, and 30 plus 13%. And I thought that he would get around the high teens. That was my guess entering the night, and he finished with 12 points and 6 assists, only 9 field goal attempts. Clearly wasn't going to have that 39-point performance, and it was just an interesting storyline entering the night. It did not live up to the hype, but it's not really his fault based off of what was going down. Here's the thing. You have one team with, I think we understand by now, 2 legitimate stars, and one that I just compared to Michael Jordan. And then the other team had Glenn Robinson III, who actually had a decent night. He tied his career high with 25 points. And Tobias Harris. Think about the difference. Think about the difference. And I actually had people tweeting at me all game long yelling about the usage of timeouts by Brett Brown. Really? That was the issue in this basketball game? The timeouts, the usage of the timeouts, or the lack thereof? That was the difference? It's so comical to me. It really is. What happened in that second half towards the end, the second quarter right before the half, it's just based off of the Lakers getting into their rhythm, locking down defensively, and being the better team. You could see the Sixers struggle offensively based off of what the Lakers were bringing on the defensive side of the floor and the intensity. They upped it big time. It went from, hey, this is the first quarter basketball game to, all right, fellas, let's clock in, let's lock in, let's dial in, and you could see the difference. Now, when you look at what they actually brought to the stat sheet when it comes to defense, the Lakers recorded 6 blocks and 9 steals. Yeah. New starting lineup for Brett. I guess just throwing some things together as he kind of needed to. Shake Milton, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris, Mike Scott, and Al Horford. Now, Mike Scott has been playing well. I would say over the last 2 games or so, that's the Mike Scott we thought we were going to get this season. I like what Mike Scott has brought to the table as of late. He's got some confidence. He's knocking down the threes. Hopefully, that's something that can really be a piece moving down the road here. Now, the Sixers are in the 6th seed at this point, which is unbelievable when you try and process this. So, when it comes to what this team is and the future of this team and what to expect, I'm over that part of it. I really am. At this point, it's more just, hey, let's ride out this season. Let's see wherever it takes us, and from there, we gotta make some big time decisions and move on from players if that is even possible. And that's a conversation down the road once the season ends and things like that. It's not ready to dissect those types of moves right now. But I'm just saying I'm at the point now where, you're in the 6th seed. Can they get to the 5th seed to play Miami instead of the Boston Celtics? I remember talking about, can they get into the 4th seed so they can host the Miami Heat? Now it's a different conversation. At this point, it's more just like, hey, this is what the team is right now. They are battling so much adversity due to not having any of their players. They were facing adversity before that too, but you go out west. You need these big wins. The Pacers are on a win streak, although they do have the Bucks up next. But you're seeing these other teams win basketball games, and you're down 3 starters, and you're on the road where you can't even win with the starters. I just don't know what to expect. So at this point, it's get healthy, and we'll just see what happens, I guess. I'll tell you what kind of cracks me up, though, is the Kyle Kuzma boos from the fans after he misses some shots. The hatred by the fans to Kyle Kuzma, it's hilarious. It's sort of, I guess, what Al Horford is to the Sixers right now. The Sixers boo Al Horford all the time on their home floor whenever he misses a shot. Even if it's not a boo, you can just feel it. You can feel how tense the fan base is while in the arena during those times. There's just a clear disconnect, and I feel as if Kuzma is the same exact way. He's posting things on social media, and people are clapping back saying, we don't hate you. We just think you suck as a basketball player. It's just, it's hilarious. I guess it's me just trying to find ways to not be hating on the Sixers. I got to go a different route and start enjoying other people being frustrated with their team. LeBron James, 22, 14, and 7. I love watching the guy play. 35 years old. 35 years old. Taking over the league, dominating the league, and it just gets unnoticed because he does it all the time. Because it's so nonchalant. Gets a steal, monster slam. He was so criticized at one point in his career, deservedly so, for not being able to shoot the basketball and being a poor three-point shooter. The last 2 games, he has legitimately pulled up from 7,000 feet. You think he might have even taken a bigger step when it comes to that part of his game? Think about that. He added another element to his three-point shooting. He's watching Steph Curry. He's watching Damian Lillard. He's watching all these young cats go out there. And Damian Lillard's a little bit older in age, and Steph is too. They're not young cats, but they're younger than him because he's so damn old. My point is, though, he's watching the league grow as this league where people are knocking down these insane, like literally insane half-court type shots. So at the age of 35, he's not done growing. He's not done becoming even a better player, and he added that part to his game, and he's putting it on display back-to-back games where he feels like pulling up from wherever he wants, and it's straight cash. Think about that. Now, maybe one day, hopefully, that's Ben Simmons? Question mark? Oh, probably not. Probably not. Come on, Broads, calm down. I know this is right after the game and it's 1 a.m., okay? I know it was a late start. It was a 10 o'clock start, and luckily it was on NBA TV, but you had to deal with that whole Boston Celtics, Brooklyn Nets debacle where it's a crazy fourth quarter. It then goes into overtime. I got worried where I wasn't going to be able to actually watch the start of the game, and then you get thrown into it, which would have sucked because if you think about it, that's when the Sixers actually had a little bit of flow, a little bit of adrenaline. But it was on NBA TV, thank the Lord. Now, that Celtics game was crazy, and it's always awesome to see the Celtics lose a basketball game, especially when they blow such a big-time lead. But let's be real. I just cared about the Sixers. I just wanted the Sixers to be on my damn television. Where do they go from here when it comes to this road trip? Well, the logical answer is Sacramento, because they take on the Kings Thursday night. But I don't know what to expect. Now, the Kings don't have a great record, but you're talking about a very depleted team who, I will say, though, when it comes to effort and when it comes to being engaged and trying and willing to compete and being out there and not giving up, they're doing that. So maybe if they are to sneak away with a win, it's against this team, or maybe it's against the Golden State Warriors, because you have Alec Burks in there, you have Glenn Robinson III in there as well to maybe beat up on their old squad, but I think they're only going to pull away with one victory out of this 4-game stretch. So which game is it going to be? That's the question. I would be so shocked, literally so shocked, if somehow they were 2-2 on this trip. I really would be. But looking at it, they went and played the Clippers. They went and played the Lakers. And they didn't have Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Josh Richardson for those basketball games. What is there to complain about? How are you supposed to be disappointed? It played out pretty much how it was supposed to play out. I mean, it's just that simple, right? One team has way more talent than the other team. 95% of the time, the better team wins. You'll see a Knicks beat a Rockets, right? You'll see that happen. But 95% of the time, the good teams win. And that's why, with this Sixers season, it's been so stressful, it's been so irritating, it's been so frustrating, because that hasn't been the case with this team, especially on the road, and that's why this season is where it's at, because it's not making any sense. But I was having a conversation with one of my buddies about this. Every year in every sport, there's one team that has so much praise entering the season. And we saw it happen with Boston last season. And look at where they are now. I mean, yes, they got rid of Kyrie Irving, but they still have a lot of the core group, the key players. They have Brad Stevens. They made a change with some personnel moves, but a next season comes, there's not as much expectations, and things change rather quickly. When it comes to sports, there's always one team that has that overhype, that gets all the praise early before the season starts, and then things fall apart throughout the season, and not luckily, unluckily, that is the 76ers in this season, and it has been one of the most, not boring, I wouldn't say boring, that's not the word to describe it, because it has been very debatable. It had a lot of conversation to this point, so it hasn't been boring, but it's been upsetting. It's absolutely been an upsetting season. There's no time for moral victories. So I mentioned how they played hard, and I'm just using that for optimism that they'd be able to carry that over into a game against the Kings or into a game against the Warriors, because they need to find ways to get wins. They got to make sure they find ways to put wins together, stop this road game losing streak, and just get a win. Just get a win. So there's no time for moral victories just based off of where they are this deep into the season and with where the stars are right now on this team, not playing, not on the court. But when I say at least they competed, that's just optimism for, hey, they can build off that and they can compete the same way and maybe beat a team that doesn't have as much talent as the Lakers or the Clippers. That's all. I think it is time now to go to the 24/7 anytime hotline. The phone number is 856-442-98 You can call in whenever you want. Now, because this was a late game, I did have some calls flying through afterwards, but there were some halftime calls as well. So we have a little bit of both. Let's start this off.
Hey bro, it's Ben from the UK. Just quickly gonna ring in to give my thoughts after today's loss to the Lakers. I mean, I just don't think you can be that disappointed, really. I think people blow it out of proportion, saying, oh, this is Horford's fault, this is Brett's fault. This is just symptomatic of what happens when you're playing against a team which is just a lot better. AD's there, LeBron's there, and we just don't have our best players that can match them. Simmons would typically be guarding LeBron, and Embiid would typically be on AD, and we saw that when it was the reverse game in Philadelphia. This is what happened. We were able to beat them because we had our stars available. And this is just you can't be too worked up about it. I think we gave ourselves a good account. We didn't just there were opportunities where it looks as if we'd just get a blowout loss, but we gave it what we could. Glenn Robinson turned up, finally hit a couple threes, and that's good going forward for us. Is he going to do this? Get 20, 30 points every game? Of course not. No, he's not. But if he could just find his rhythm, hit the shots that he needs to hit, get threes at a healthy rate, then we're the ones that are going to benefit off of that. The last two games, there are far more positives than negatives to take from it. Do we need to win games? It's getting to that point of the season where I think you said it in your video report, there's no room for sentiment. You just got to win games down the stretch, especially now in the 6th seed, and we want that 4th seed. But no one expected anything from these two, so all you can try and do is just get good habits out of the games. And I think like I said, it's not perfect, but there's positives to take, and that's all you can really do when you lose like this. But anyway, all the best, bud.
Thank you so much for the call. Yeah, you mentioned the Ben Simmons on LeBron concept that occurred earlier this season. That would be so much fun to watch. Are you serious to watch Ben Simmons in LA go up against LeBron? We were robbed of that. And also, Joel Embiid versus Anthony Davis. How much more entertaining would that be? That would be awesome to watch Embiid and AD go back and forth, to go at it. It would be such a different vibe defensively. I mean, Anthony Davis was eating Al Horford alive. And to be fair, right now, I could probably do that. You could probably do that. Anyone in the world could probably do that at this very moment. But to see Embiid bang bodies down low with Anthony Davis, or take him offensively and maybe get him into foul trouble. If Embiid was in this game, maybe he would have gotten Anthony Davis into foul trouble, and that could have changed how this game played out. Now, saying those two being in the game would automatically lean towards a Sixers victory, I'm not going that far at all. I mean, they could have both played the game, and Josh Richardson, and still possibly lost this game. It would have helped Josh Richardson's perimeter defense. Maybe it would have stopped Rajon Rondo from hitting that insanely deep three early in the game. I had to do a double take. What? Was that Rondo? Are you kidding me? It would have helped the Sixers have a better chance, but I'm not going to the full extent of it would have automatically been a Sixers victory.
Hey, bro. Calling in at halftime. Wow, was that second quarter ugly. It was a great start to the game, but then Anthony Davis happened. And I'm just so over Al Horford at this point. He can't get destroyed this bad on defense. It's like he don't know what he's doing out there. It's just sad to see. Thanks for taking the call.
Yeah, quick and to the point. Al Horford is a serious issue right now. And it's hard to not look in the future. And I know I mentioned, right now it's just, hey, let's see where this team takes us. And that is true. That is how I feel. But when it comes to Al Horford, every time his name comes up, every time I see him do that clap when he misses a layup or when he turns the ball over, all I can think about is, can we move on from this contract? What would you have to package up to tell another team or to beg another team, please take this from us, please take this from us, please? What is it going to take?
Hey, bro. A 9-game losing streak on the road. Ouch. I guess I can't overreact by this loss. But I can't take that Glenn Robinson the third. He played really well. Him and Burks. What I'm really frustrated, well, not really, somewhat frustrated about, it's a 9-point game in the fourth quarter. This is why we signed Tobias Harris, to go get a basket, and he couldn't get a basket there, and the Lakers ran away with it from there. And I also wanted to get your thoughts on the expectations of the season. It's not looking good. We are now 6th in the East. And I wanted to get your thoughts if we need to lower our expectations on the season.
Oh, well, I mean, it depends on where you are specifically at. I mean, I've been talking about this for months now that, this team is what it is, and I saw another second-round exit coming in this year, and it might be worse. It also could be better just based off of if they ever turn it on and are willing to play, and who knows. I mean, I just see them as in the same spot as they have been over the last few seasons, which is a second-round exit type squad. So that's my expectations, and the Tobias Harris comment, he did have some struggles when it came to that isolation ball, but when you look at who he was going up against, it's a tough matchup for him, no doubt. And if you have Ben Simmons, if you have Joel Embiid, it's a totally different down the stretch type offense. It's a totally different vibe. Ben Simmons going full speed downhill, giving options to pass out for three or for him to get fouled or to dump it into Embiid, and his attention can open up Tobias Harris. Like Tobias Harris by himself out there with Glenn Robinson the third and Alec Burks and Shake Milton and these other players that are on this roster right now, Howell Neto and Al Horford, like these type of players, when it's Tobias Harris playing isolation ball, I mean, is that ever going to work? I mean, are there any other threats? If you're the Lakers and you look around, I mean, Tobias Harris is the best option you got. I mean, you go on him. Like, what else is there really to do? Now, that's not to say that Tobias had bad moments down the stretch, because I think he did, but, I'm just not crushing Tobias in that spot. There was no way he was pulling out a 15-point run by himself when they were down 9 to change the outcome of that basketball game. Not when you look at the way the Lakers were playing defense and clamping down. Not when you look at who he was going up against during those moments. I mean, it's just something that I didn't see occurring anyway.
Hey, Rhodes, actually just watching the game right now as we speak. I just wanted to say one thing. The Sixers right now look like the island of the misfit toys.
Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good. That's where we're at. Imagine thinking the Sixers would be at that level in March. Early March, those were the type of calls we would be taking on the podcast.
Hey, what's up, bro? This is Kevin in Seattle. First of all, once again, 76 for life. Yeah, I know I called for the victory tonight, but hey, we competed. We're down 3 starters, but we competed. I want to look at the little silver lining in here. I want to give one person credit. That's Brett Brown, because he kept his team competing tonight. A lot of teams would have thrown in the towel early, but Brett Brown kept our guys competing tonight. So I just want to give him a little credit. He takes all the blame for everything wrong, but I just want to give him some credit tonight. It took a lot to keep us competing, and Brent Brown was able to do that. All right.
Thank you so much for all the support and for chiming in. Now, it's funny. Normally, I am the one supporting Brett more than most, and let's be clear for the 1 millionth time, because every time I say this, I need to clarify. I don't think he's a great coach. I don't think he's the worst coach in the NBA, like a lot of people claim that he is. When it comes to keeping the team fighting and keeping the team over the last 2 games, keeping the team involved, I do think that there's something to be said about that, but I also think based off of the circumstances, you got hungry cats out there. You got Glenn Robinson trying to figure out his role. You got Shake Milton, who's a hungry young kid. You got some of these players who just feel like maybe here's a chance. They're just playing with that energy, playing with that moment or that mentality that this is a moment to show coach, to show everyone that they can ball out. So I'm not discrediting Brett Brown for having them playing hard in these 2 games. But what I'm saying is I feel like it says more about where the mindset is of these players without their stars there. Hey, I got a chance. Hey, I got an opportunity. Let me make sure I go out there and compete as hard as I possibly can so I can prove to my coach, to my teammates, to anyone around the league who might try and sign me later on that I can really do this thing, that I can really participate in this league and be some sort of help in this NBA. You know? That's how I kind of look at it.
Yo, what up, bros? I'm at halftime right now. I don't even know if I can finish this game. I really don't, man. We was up like 10, I think, and for like 6 minutes left in the half, we were down 9. This dude, Raul, I don't even know how he made it. How is he on the NBA roster? I don't understand it. I don't. This man, Anthony Davis, is flexing and punching his hand in the air. Bro, you're playing against Al Horford. Like, how good are you? Come on now. Embiid has your number. Ben beat y'all. Like, I just don't like these type of, I hate this. I can't wait till the playoffs. Hopefully we can get something together, get to the finals or something. We're gonna smoke this team bad. I promise.
That is a ballsy statement. Now, you mentioned Raul Neto in his very, very, very limited minutes. I didn't think he was awful for what his minutes were. I mean, they did what he needed to do. He didn't crush the team. He didn't really significantly really help the team either. But in his very limited minutes, you know, you're calling in the heat of the moment. That was a halftime call. But listen, he had that sick crossover during that time, right? So, wow, how about that? You see that crossover and you still managed to call in and get on Neto? You're right, though. I don't know how he is on the NBA roster on a team in this league at all, but he is, and based off of not having Ben Simmons and not having Josh Richardson, you are now really lacking guards who can handle the ball, so that is kind of what you're stuck with using.
Keeping it short and sweet. Al Horford, pure garbage, pure waste of space, $100 million set on fire. Terrible.
How about it? That is nice and sweet and to the point. Here is our last call.
Oh my goodness, bro. It's cool from South Jersey. It's about halftime right now, and I'm about to go to sleep. I gotta wake up at 3 in the morning for work. This is incredible. Like, Al Horford's stealing money right now. I don't understand. He has like 4 points. He's been playing most of the game. No, oh my goodness gracious. And I knew they was going to blow the lead. They was winning about, 10, 13 points at one point. I knew it was coming. But, I mean, they are playing without Simmons and Embiid, so I don't know how mad I could be, but
they do need to fix something. Now, it seems like when you look at this and you hear all the calls and you see the reactions, it's kind of on the same page. The team did not have their guys. You can't be really upset about losing to the Clippers and the Lakers based off of the circumstances, but Al Horford and his pathetic efforts right now, it's truly on display. He looks so slow. He looks so lost. And at this point, he's playing the 5 without Joel Embiid. There should be no problems with spacing. It's straight up just him not being good enough. And that is a major concern for the 76ers. So thank you so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And I will see you next time.